Every time we calculated our margin was based on COGS, cost of goods sold. So I think that's the inventory cost and raw material cost is generally number 2 item after wages in many companies. What is the most expensive part of owning a business? I came across this question on Quora. Someone had asked about this. It's a bit of a vague question because expensive part of owning a business, and everything has some expense associated with it. But let's say, to clarify to those budding entrepreneurs or anybody who's starting a new business, generally in any business, in a service-based industry, the biggest cost is the employee salaries and wages. In service industry thrives on, any kind of service industry is dependent on the workers providing service, whether it be your Accenture, EY kind of business or a restaurant. So employee wages are generally a very significant part of your overall expense. And these days, in today's era, it is not just limited to the salaries, but it also includes the health insurance, the payroll insurance, and all these other paraphernalia that goes with it. And it may also include some other perks that you may be providing your employees, like coffee, tea, or food, lunch, or something like that. Depends on the company you're running. So that is the number 1 expense that you have. And the number 2 expense item in your cash flow would always be the overheads. That may be your rents, utilities, all these overheads that you are required to pay for to maintain these employees. That may be your software packages that you're buying, and all the things, licensing cost and overheads. This come under the category of overheads. That could be significant depending upon the number of employees you have. And number 3 would be marketing and sales. Now, if your marketing and sales is dependent purely on employees, you may have counted that as your employee cost. But besides that, you still have a significant amount of cost associated with marketing and sales. That is because your salespeople may travel, they may attend conferences, they may host conferences, and same thing with marketing. They may require budgets for social media spend and advertising and things like that. That tends to be pretty significant, regardless of the company you're running. And the 4th one will be legal and compliance. Again, it varies from industry to industry, but still, I remember in startups that I ran or companies I ran, I always had a couple of lawyers on retainers. Generally, one was corporate lawyer, other was an IP lawyer. And these retainer costs could be pretty hefty at times. So that will be the next one. Now, if you have a product company, or even let's say a restaurant example I gave, product, you're selling, let's say, laptops, cell phones, some kind of company like that, selling a product or restaurant, then a significant amount of money is cost of goods, inventory and raw material. And in fact, every time we calculated our margin was based on COGS, cost of goods sold. So I think that's the inventory cost and raw material cost is generally number 2 item after wages in many companies. In services, of course, that line item doesn't exist, but in other industries that item does exist. Now, of course, I don't want to give you just the bad news, and costs are there everywhere, including your household and including your daily life. So don't be afraid of these costs. Only reason I'm telling you this is so that you can think about building a business where your spend is always less than the revenue you're bringing in. That's when you're called cash flow positive. Hope it helps you. Thank you.